You're not being charged with any of that.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's part of the narrative. And the narrative can be looked at a certain way, which might influence one to make whatever decision going forward. Okay, same thing on the second one. I signed in. I thought it was going to be 28 days. After 2 weeks, they review every week, and they discharge me. I never left against medical advice. It may not sound very important, but obviously the parole officer thought it was important enough to include it in the narrative.
Okay, go ahead. What would you like to say in regards to the charges?
All the charges, have you just read them? Charge 1, 2, and 3, as it pertains to the violation. My response is that I am certainly guilty of all of those, and that I did violate and commit those violations.
I mean, it's obvious you got a drug problem. So, I mean, in these usual circumstances, I would say put him in a drug rehab, get him some help, because it's obvious he doesn't even have a criminal problem, he has a drug problem. So get him some help, you know?
Well, I appreciate your comments on that.
Okay.
So, what I'm going to do, is there anything else you'd like to say before I announce my findings?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay. Then I received last week an additional package which kind of has most of the same paperwork, but on the second page following the charges, I don't know if the charge or the violations, I'm given the narrative, is provided a full page of the narrative. And basically what the narrative is saying, the 2 times, once I went to Trinity Healthcare, otherwise known as Mount Sinai Hospital, St. Francis Hospital in Harvard, to the emergency unit, where I have a depression issue, bipolar manic depressive. I was feeling suicidal. I signed in there. Okay. Later that same day, they transferred me from the emergency room to Mount Sinai adult psychiatric unit.
Yeah.
And I informed my parole officer, and I stayed there for 1 week and was discharged. I didn't leave on my own. Like I said, it wasn't a drug treatment program. It was an adult psychiatric unit, and they reviewed the patients day by day. My point is that in reports, he says that I left against medical advice. Not true. That I didn't sign paperwork for the clinician to be able to speak to him. Not true. She came out of her office and said she needed me to sign papers so she could talk to my parole officer. I said, when are you going to call him? She said, he's on the phone right now. Okay, that was one. Some weeks later, I signed myself into the
Well, you're not being charged with any of that.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's part of the narrative. And the narrative can be looked at a certain way, which might influence one to make whatever decision going forward. Okay, same thing on the second one. I signed in. I thought it was going to be 28 days. After 2 weeks, they review every week, and they discharge me. I never left against medical advice. It may not sound very important, but obviously the parole officer thought it was important enough to include it in the narrative. So I felt it could be important enough to address it. Okay, I tried to, but it becomes very difficult to get it from this position to get hospital records. It's just really, really hard. it doesn't make any difference in how the decision is made or what the outcome is, then so be it. But I just wanted to make that statement for the record. In closing, I just like to say I've had and continue to have some issues with substance use, and that's the basis of everything that surrounds my violation. Obviously, I went and looked for help while I was out in the community, and I am hopeful at this point that the parole board will consider allowing me to do an inpatient program such as the Act Foundation if I'm eligible for such before I discharge.
Right. Well, I appreciate your statements and your explanation of what happened. So, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to announce my findings in regards to the charges.
Well, you got to find guilty. I'm pleaded guilty.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I still gotta read my findings still.
Okay.
So in regards to charge 1, I make a finding probable cause reporting based on evidence and testimony presented for the violation, exhibits G and D, AGD. I make a finding probable cause charge 2, release restriction GPS based on evidence and testimony presented, which is exhibits B, E, and H. On charge 3, I make a finding probable cause of bail laws drugs based on evidence and testimony presented for the violation, which is exhibit B, F, and K. I do find the act is serious enough to warrant revocation. I attorney should be detained while you wait for revocation hearing. So at the rev hearing, myself or another hearing examiner will determine if you violated conditions of your parole. If so, the hearing examiner will make recommendations regarding whether your parole should be revoked, what any sanctions should be imposed. So this was just a preliminary hearing. So you're a technical violation, so we'll schedule you for your rev hearing. So you come back and determine if there's a violation or not. There's 60 business.
So as you see, he got found guilty, but this is just a revocation. They're still going to go, or this is just a preliminary, so they're going to go for another revocation. But he got found guilty, but hopefully gets the help, and, hopefully he can figure out and conquer his demons, Stay blessed and stay free.
Custody that's scheduled in that time frame. So we'll bring you back and determine if there's a violation, and then we determine if there's a sanction or not. Okay? So I'm going to schedule you for a hearing. You're going to come back, and then we'll determine if there's a violation or not. Okay? You'll get it in the mail from us when your next hearing date is, as well as a summary from us.